So I'm sure everybody knows this, but the one thing you definitely don't want to do is have yourself backlit. You don't want your light source coming in from behind you and completely washing you out. No good if you want to be communicating with somebody, making eye contact, having a chat. And also if you want to show off a garment, some materials or any of your product at all, and you're showing it off in the dark like this, you're completely wasting your time. So the best suggestion is always try and get yourself directly in front of your light source. So already there, you can see the light from outside. It's picking up picking up highlights in my eyes, just making me look alert, awake. So now that you've done the hard work of finding out the light that works best for you, how you look best and how you're going to look best online, the next thing to do is to get a camera in, either your phone or your computer. So I'm going to switch across now. I'm going to start shooting on my laptop, and we're going to look at angles, the way you position yourself, and most importantly, all the mistakes that I've seen out there. We're going to avoid all of those. Just a few simple little tips and tricks. So one I see so often is this. Been to so many meetings, and this is what I'm looking at. Top of somebody's head and mostly their ceiling. So first things first, just be aware of yourself. It's just like taking a photograph. So first thing, pop up your lid. I've also seen this though. I've seen people down too low. Just not being aware of, I don't know if it's not being aware of being maybe a little bit lazy, or a combination of both perhaps. We have a tendency to put our laptops exactly where we use them on a day-to-day basis. Sadly, it isn't the most flattering angle. So what we're going to have to do is raise that up. That's our first thing to do. So what you want to do is you want to be making eye contact with your camera. So as opposed to looking at yourself, we want to be having a conversation. So I'm trying to, at the minute, just completely ignore my own face and say, what it's doing, and looking directly into the camera. Whereas if I deliver the same message while looking at myself, there's a bit of a disconnect between the viewer or the person I'm having a meeting with. So if I start talking to you and saying the same thing again, so right now I'm delivering the conversation to myself. There is definitely a disconnect, as opposed to when I come back up and I start to make eye contact again. So first things first, raise up your camera, whether that's your phone or your laptop. So for me, I'm going to use these two cavity blocks. So these have been with me for years, and I've used them for every meeting. So straight away, it's a much more equal conversation. I'm neither looking down upon somebody, or neither am I looking up at them. It's like we're sitting in a room, sitting across a table from each other. But also, if I need to pull up any information from my computer, I'm within arm's reach. So I'm never any further away than, So, this is unnatural as it sits. My computer is higher than it should be. But if I'm talking to somebody, I can reach across, and it doesn't look to the outsider that this is awkward, even though for me it's clunky, it's not right. So if your lens is slightly above your own eye level and you maintain eye contact with the lens as you speak, it'll give you a much more naturalistic dialogue with somebody. They'll feel like you're engaged. So that's the basic, that's the golden rule. I wouldn't veer too far off that. I would place yourself central in your frame, and just work from there. So pushing on to maybe some of the elements around etiquette. Show up to your web meeting as if you're heading to somebody's office. If dress yourself. And here's another thing: dress yourself entirely. You should be in a position that if you're talking to somebody and they say to you, "Oh, do you have X, Y, or Z?" and you're like, "Oh, I do have one of those." And then if you're not dressed appropriately for the meeting, like say you've pajama bottoms on, and you know that you've got to leave the room and walk across and be seen with your pajama bottoms, it's just a red flag for unprofessionalism. So for me, I always get fully dressed for a meeting, shoes, jeans, trousers, nothing fancy, but like nothing that I wouldn't be embarrassed to go to a normal meeting for. Don't get too comfortable in your chair. I would suggest getting a stool or something that isn't necessarily all that comfortable, because the longer a meeting goes on or a conversation goes on, you can start to feel yourself slouching. You know, if you're in a chair that's nice, you like, and you know, you might have all the best intentions in the world. You might be really interested, but to the viewer, to the person you're dealing with, the person that might be spending a big chunk of money with you, you know, you've started to get like tired and you're slouching. You know, it's not great. So as for dressing a set and, you know, preparing your space for your meeting, there's no hard and fast rules. I would be really aware of things, you know, not being in place. Like, you know, you don't want to have dirty cups or bowls or saucers or, you know, laundry knocking around. There's a way you can have a busy scene and yet it all feeling quite uniform and clean in a way. Like I definitely wouldn't have shot this video against this wall, because I've got camera bags and t-shirts, and there's a whole load of junk over there that I definitely don't want anyone to see. So here's one more little tip. I've just closed the window up behind me, so there's very little light coming through there at all. If you are in a pinch and you don't have any lighting around, it's dark out and you're having a meeting, instead of having a grey background, as you can see I have up there, if you bring up so you minimize your window, your Skype or your Zoom window, and you bring up a white screen onto your computer, you can see the difference is huge. It just pops a little highlight in your eyes, makes you look, again, as I said earlier on, aware and alert. So you can see the difference when I take that away. So another free little tip there. Just minimize that window, get as much white space and as much brightness going on as possible, and that'll get you out of a pinch.